I would have loved to have made dice, but my skills aren't quite there yet. I have made some, and I've been happy enough with them for me, but I haven't used them in any D&D games because I don't feel like they're good enough yet. And I didn't want to risk trying to make them and then getting upset that they didn't work. So I decided to do something slightly more Winter's Questy. And I made everyone candles, and I tried to make them candles that were inspired by their characters. And I'm really, really pleased with how they've come out. Really, really pleased. Yeah, you want to keep it, it said try not to go above 80. This was the first one I did, and it says Saphir's Apothecary, which is my character, and Fantasy Trash Candles, because Fantasy Trash is the collective name of our group, and I just felt like that made sense. And I had some wax tarts that I've had for years, that I've purchased when I think a local shop called Presents was closing down. My mum's kind of given me a few, or quite a lot, and ends of bigger candles, and I also have a fair amount of aromatherapy oils, those kind of diffuser oils in the house. So I've kind of used whatever I've had already. I haven't purchased anything in terms of scents, which is amazing. But I purchased a container wax blend, a vegan one, and some jars. I actually went to a proper candle making website and purchased these. I just wanted to make sure I was doing it right. I looked up information on what was the best wax. I found the one that I was happiest with, and then was conscious that I wanted to get wood wicks, but no, they didn't have them in the right width for the wax to melt properly. So I ended up going with a cotton wick, and I made sure to check that the burn pull would be right. So hopefully they work really nicely, because I've gone to the effort of learning about that and checking. So this one, and all I did was a tiny bit of maths to make sure I got this right. This was the first one I did, and I filled it a little bit more than I was going to, or had intended on, because the maths that I used gave me this outcome, and I ended up reducing it a bit. So all I did was factor in how much oil this can take. So on a bag of wax, if you're buying the little melts, it will say you can put 8% is the sweet spot for the amount of additions you can put in. Up to 15% will still be okay. And then maybe it wouldn't go any more. So I factored in about 8% for this one. And then all I did was check how much this holds. I think it was 300 grams. I then deducted 15%, I think. Something about that so I wanted 15% less wax in here. I ended up filling it a bit more. I was nervous the first time. And then from that, say it was 285 grams, it's not the right maths, but say it was that, then I took another 8% off for the amount of oils I was going to add. So I knew how much wax I was going to have to melt down, and then I melted that. I knew how much 8% was in grams of the oils that I wanted to add in. So once it had melted and it was at a cool enough temperature to pour, I put the oils into the wax. And while the wax was melting, I put the jars in the oven to bring them up to roughly the same temperature. I think it was between 45 and 55 degrees is the temperature that I had these at. And that's where I got the wax to, I think 55, and then I added the oils. Stirred it up until it was definitely mixed in. Took this out of the oven. It was the best, most efficient way of keeping them at the right temperature. Then just poured the wax in, and it's come out really good. This one is Deer Snowy Mountain, a handmade candle inspired by the fantasy trash fighter Deer and her favourite terrain, mountains, but in the snow to celebrate winter's crest. Smelling notes: rock, snow, yetis and fresh air. May this candle light your way and bring you extra natural 20s. So I used a lot of peppermint, eucalyptus and vanilla in this one. And I'm really, really chuffed. I also left this completely white. I felt like a snowy mountain. That was the vibe. But I'm really, really pleased with how it came out. I designed the label up and printed it off. And yeah, I did that same process for all of them. I then did one for Sarah, the Dungeon Master, and Sheldon. They live in the same house together. They are together, which is why I've combined them. And I felt like I really wanted to do a tavern scent. So something warm and either alcohol-y or fiery. And I didn't really have anything fiery, but I did have some cinnamon. So this one, I'll do the read first, is Sarah and Sheldon at the Tavern. A handmade candle inspired by Fantasy Trust, Dungeon Master and Sheldon. You find yourself sitting in the Fey Tavern with a flower-pooping bunny. Here you smell bourbon, vanillas and flowers of the Feywild. And I think I did it. So this has a bourbon vanilla scent in it. It has lilac, rose, and I think there's a pinch of lavender in there. And then quite a bit of just vanilla to sweeten it up. And it's like warm and cozy and comforting, but it has a floral freshness to it. And this one I sprinkled some dried flowers on top, just for extra flower pooping situation. But I was really pleased with this one too. And finally, so I didn't make Naya, I don't know why I'm struggling today, Naya's character one, because I already have a candle that I purchased specifically for Mary as a person rather than her character. So she just has that, which is sounds really crap now I'm saying it out loud, but I thought of it a long time ago when we had a chat about a certain situation, and I went out and bought it. So while she didn't get a handmade one, she got one that had a lot of thought going into it anyway. And this one is Valtress's Winter's Crest in the Library. Because if Valtress was going to be anywhere, she would be in the library reading. A handmade candle inspired by the fantasy trash sorcerer and her favourite place, the library. You're reading by candlelight on Winter's Crest in the library. Inhaling, you smell winter spice, old books, and hot spice mandarin. when I think of Monica as a person, there is like, you know, that sweet orange satsumari clementine smell that just makes you happy. I feel like that is a very good overview of Monica as a person, so that made sense. And then I wanted it to be slightly festive, so I added, so there's mandarin in there for the sweet orange scent, and I felt like mulled orange is something that we have here, and I thought like spiced mandarin would be a little bit more of a fantasy thing, so I imagined her sat by candlelight drinking a hot mandarin and reading. And then there is a lot more winter spice in here and vanilla. And I can't remember, there was one other. We used a wax tart that had a funky name. But yeah, I think it's come out really nicely. It does have we used frankincense to give it a slightly old booky, ye old library scent. I don't know, but it worked. So I'm really, really chuffed. I don't know. I didn't expect these to come out as good as they have. I have made them for friends and family as well for Christmas in the real world, but I won't go through all of them now. Maybe I'll do a vlogmasy type situation, I don't know. But I don't know, I'm just chuffed with how they've come out. I love that I got to think about it and play, and Alex actually helped me with a couple of these. He more helped with the fat friends and family ones than these because he was playing drums or guitar at the time. But I did go up and fetch him and then he helped me. And then finally, these aren't totally finished, but I just can't resist sharing them too. But I loved the idea of making potions because I am a bit of a loser, a little bit of a nerd. And last Christmas, Alex and I played a one-shot in which we did a potions class, and it was really fun. It was actually us making a colour-changing cocktail in the living room on our own, but it was potions class. And I felt like something similar would be nice, but I didn't really want to include alcohol, and I didn't really want to send anything too over the top across the big ponds. So I thought about doing a potion of healing, and then I was like, well, maybe a potion of sleep, but it doesn't really exist. So I created a potion of vitality, and I've basically just made a blend of some of my favourite flowers and leaves, and put them in a little jar and made a little string go around the cork, and then I dipped it in wax and put everyone's initials on the top because I'm really that. And they have, again, this is Sophia's apothecary, potion of vitality, and then I've made little cards that talk about it. So, hand-picked and blended on the road by Sophia of Port de Marly, which is where my character's from. When you drink this potion, it removes any exhaustion you are suffering and cures any disease or poison affecting you. The crimson liquid regularly pulses with a dull light, calling to mind a heartbeat, which is from the official booklet. Sophia cannot ensure it will affect all persons who drink the potion the same. Sophia's chaotic. Who knows what she's done? But it's actually olive leaf, chamomile, rose bay willow herb, which is something I love, watermint, and some calendula or marigolds. But yeah, I thought it was really cute. I think this is a really lovely way of presenting things. We are going to do something similar for Christmas gifts for family and friends. I'm going to do a salt blend because we use it. It will be the one that we use a lot. It's oregano, chili, and sea salt. But I just thought it was a really nice way of presenting it, something slightly different, and I would love to do more of these. Like, I really would. I could see myself really getting into dried herb apothecary vibes. But yeah, really, really happy. This was all mostly stuff that I had at home, in terms of I had some beeswax from when I make wax cloths for wrapping things, like food in. I had the string. I did buy the jars. I can't remember where they're from. But it took me a long time to find ones that I thought were the right size. There was a real mix. Some really tiny, and I felt like I could have gone smaller. But this is just a really nice size to receive and to hold. And can be useful afterwards, whether it's for putting flowers in or for reusing for a similar situation. But yeah, I thought I would share. I'm super chuffed with my little makes for my D&D gang. And I hope it inspires you maybe to make some for your friends. And if you do, like, I would love to see. And if you've got any ideas of other things that are really good to make, I'd love to hear. I did dream of making everyone a D20 necklace, and I've since seen different ways people have done it, because I decided to just try it myself. Very unsuccessfully, I might add. I melted a few and didn't have any of the right, what's the right phrase? Accessories, that's not the right phrase, bits to make it work. But I thought that was a really fun selection, and I'm really excited to pack these up and send them off. I have one printed copy left of the Winter's Crest pattern, which I might send. I'm not going to talk about it out loud, I don't need to tell you. But everyone's going to get a copy of that just for funsies. There's no pressure to knit it. I just think it's just a nice thing to have. And yeah, I'm really excited to see, hopefully my D&D gang excited to have little Winter's Crest gift. Secretly hoping we get to have an in-game Winter's Crest party at some point. But yeah. Like I said, I'd love to hear more about your characters. I didn't really give much away about ours. But, oh! Right, 1 second. Whoa. That took a lot longer than I thought. Just someone asking about how often we listen to the radio. None. I think we've probably listened to Classic FM like 3 or 4 times in the car in the last 3 years. Other than that, we listen to music, audiobooks or podcasts. Hello, Trouble. Audrey's at my feet again. He knows that I've been outside. Huh? You sit up. You are, aren't you? I often do lino cuts. It's one of my favourite pastimes, even though I still have only got a taster kit, and it included 1 cutting tool and 1 extra tool, so it's got a narrow one and a thick one, a roller, some ink and some lino. I have done quite a few of these. To get out my... But since I knew that I was going to want to send a note to everyone, I decided to do a lino cutting of a design of my own. So I came up with a D20 and a scroll, which is quite obvious. But with sort of a laurel, a little upside down moon, and some little dice motif. And with lino cutting, what you cut out will be the same colour as whatever you're printing on. So if you're using white paper and black ink, the bit that you cut out will remain white, and whatever you leave will be the black. So you can do it in different ways. So for example, for this is one where I wanted it to be mostly ink, and I wanted the dice and the scroll to be left white, whereas I did the opposite for this one. And this is the one that I did for my logo, which says Heather and Hops. It had to be backwards so that when I print it, it goes the right way. That's something to consider. And the bigger you do it, the easier it is to get more detail in. I've got a habit of going for really little things, which is on me, so I did try to make this really quite simple. Hello, and how are you doing? I hope you are doing good today. I thought it would be fun to take some time to document one of my lino cutting processes. So I've done a few in my time. I don't know very much about it really. I know that my grandmother on my dad's side, she used to do loads of it, and I think my uncle did too, who is married in. He's actually got work up, I think it's St Catherine's Dock in London, but it's kind of a family thing that I didn't realise was a sort of family thing, and I've always really enjoyed it. And it's a really simple process. It's just like potato printing, which is also really fun and a very cost-effective way of doing this sort of thing. And you get results kind of, this is just some examples. That one was for my YouTube channel logo. That was a token little gift for Roots and Stitches people that I meet or have met in real life. And then this was my Christmas card for last year. I don't have the year before's on me, but the idea being it was kind of just wintry rather than Christmassy, and I think that's what I want to go for this year. And I think I want to do one kind of slightly geeky, for want of a better word, Dungeons and Dragons-y or fantasy-esque card, and one kind of more normal card for everyone. So far I've not had the most ideas, but hopefully just by being here we'll come up with something a bit more creative. I've thought about just doing a wreath, maybe with some very seasonal British plants on them, or European plants really. I thought about doing a Christmas jumper with a little Christmas hat. I thought that would be very simple, and it could just be a wintry one again. What else have I thought about doing? I thought about doing a little piece of knitting in progress. I thought that would be cute. It's sort of wintry, and even though it's for knitters, it would be knitting adjacent. What else did I write down? A gingerbread house. A gingerbread hobbit house was my kind of, hey, that covers both in one. I thought that would be really cute. Maybe like Happy Winter from the Shire being like the main thing. So I might have a little peruse on a search engine, maybe even Pinterest. I don't often go on there anymore, but I think that would be useful, and just look at hobbit houses, gingerbread house images, and then maybe have a little look at maybe knitting. I think knitting could be cool because I think the marks that you make do look quite good with a sort of knit stitch in, because I could do it like this, but inverted, I'm not sure. So that's kind of where I'm thinking I might go. A wreath, Christmas pudding. I do really like Christmas pudding, but it is very specifically festive, and I quite like to have these note cards to like send out to people as well. I just think, yeah. So I did get a starter kit ages ago. I think I've had this 6 years, just because I wasn't sure if I would really enjoy it. I wasn't sure what tools I would want. And I've done this many times in school and in brownies, I think. So I knew it was something I kind of would enjoy, but I didn't know if it was something I would take to as an adult. And I have really enjoyed it, and I haven't really found that whilst it would be nice to have more tools, it's easy enough to make do. When you do it, you really need to think about what you want to be printed and what you don't. So here, the outline is in the black colour, the inked colour, and here the background is in the inked colour, and then the outline is left as the same colour of the paper. So that's something to think about when you're coming up with the idea, whether you want, like, which way round you want the image to be. So this little starter kit from SD. The only thing I've since purchased is some extra lino, which is fairly easy to get hold of. I got a tool that has a thin nib and a thicker nib. It came with some water-based ink, black, that's happy for me, and a roller. This is for putting the ink onto the stencil, and then you flip it over. And I tend to use a metal spoon to smush it around to get a more clear result, so more evenly, just like, I tend to use a spoon to give it a more even result. I found that's the best method for me getting a really good result. I think you could probably use rollers and other things, but like I said, I have just been playing with this myself. But I think it's a really fun thing to do, and you know, like I said, you could easily do this with potatoes if you wanted. And I do tend to keep a little brush, sometimes for scooping excess out of bits that don't need it, or coating bits that maybe have been missed. Not necessary, but again, I just quite like to have that with me. So that's all I needed in my kit, and I've been quite happy with it so far. It would be fun to, like I said, maybe have a few more cutting tools and some different inks and do multi-layered stencils, but I think I really like simple. I'm a simple gal. So yeah, I'm going to spend some time looking at images and pondering, and I'm not going to go in fancy with my sketch. I'm just going to use a big pad of paper that I've had for a while, draw it out until I'm happy. I'm going to sketch up a few ideas, maybe 3 or 4, settle on one. I'm not going to be precious about this. And then see where we go. Hopefully, this will be a fun journey. I thought I would quickly say I've just had to change because I was actually too warm, which is the first time that's happened in weeks. We've allowed ourselves to have the heating on for just a little bit at the moment, and it kicked in. But the jumper I was just wearing, in case you are a knitter, was a hand knitted jumper, but it was not knitted by myself. I bought that maybe 15 years ago, I think it was that long ago, in a shop called Rocket, back when it was slightly affordable. I say slightly, it was amazing. It was £2, and it should not have been £2 for a hand knitted jumper, but I kept it, I've looked after it. It does need a little bit of mending, but it's an Icelandic jumper knitted in Icelandic yarn, and it is so toasty. And then this is also knitted in Icelandic yarn. This is an improvised hat. And then this one is my ranunculus. I haven't worn in a while, but I was feeling a little bit like a dusky pink. It was a good idea. And this is knitted using Whistlebear in the Cheviot Marsh and the Evering Bell, which are 2 different bases, both in the 4-ply weight, and Cherry Mallow and something else were the colours that I used. And the pattern is by Midori Hirose, and it's the ranunculus, which I've knitted many times and a lot of other knitters have at this point. But yes, let's get sketching and searching. So I think I've come up with the 3 ideas I'm going to try and create stencils for, which is 3, and my sketches are very, very basic, like basic. But hopefully I'm gonna try and build these in Photoshop. So I'm gonna get my graphics pad out, I think, for the first time in a while. I've really struggled with it. It was the cheapest one that I could find of quality. Again, when I was working at a studio, and I struggle with it because you're not drawing onto what you can see, and it just... But anyway, I'm going to get that out and see if I can get some line work done and get going. I would normally just sketch out an idea, resketch it again until I'm happy, and then do the next step of the process, but I'm going to take it to the computer to try and do it a little bit cleaner than I would otherwise do it for myself. I've been here a little while, it's got dark. I think it's taken me an hour and a half, no. I think it's taken me an hour and a half, 2 hours from deciding to do this. And I've got 2 designs that I'm sort of happy with. We've got a very simple Dungeons and Dragons-y one. A little bit of dice, a little bit of magic, not too festive. I did one with holly on and a few other things too, but I feel like this is just all year, but also a bit wintry, just a touch. And then we've got just a jumper, and I thought that this would be fun to be able to decorate. So I've also done a thicker version, which might be easier for cutting out, just for really seeing the lines. Depending on which way you want to do it, you know, if you want to go round the lines and depending on which way you want to do it, if you go over the lines, you'll get the inverted picture where the lines that you are cutting will then be the colour of the paper below. Or if it's thicker, I felt like it would be easier to leave them and then be able to leave this as the outline. But I've also done a version where I decorated it just a little bit because I feel like this is fun and really easy to personalise depending on who you are and what you want to do. No Christmas pudding, so it could be, you know, festive again, or it could be that you add a little holiday island or in a palm tree and suddenly it's a summer card or an Australian friendly card. I don't know, but I just thought it was fun. So yeah, pretty happy with these so far. Maybe treat myself to trying to sketch one of these out and maybe get scooping. Giving everything a bit of a clean. Soup's on. Parsnip and carrot, parsnip and potato soup for dinner tonight, which will be ready in about an hour. So I've got an hour for drawing this out and to get started on cutting it out. I haven't got a printer anymore, so what I'm going to do is a hack that I use all the time. It's not a fancy hack, it's definitely a make to a budget hack, and I'm going to use a piece of, it's not tracing paper, but it's like a greaseproof type of paper. It doesn't seem to have any wax or anything on it that I've got a stack of it, I've had it for a long time. And I'm just going to trace from my screen, and hope for the best. I've done this numerous times before. It's a bit janky, but I tend to mark the corners or put markings where the edge of the screen is and do my best not to touch the keypad. and it came out like this, and I'm really happy. Oh, I've just got it wet. He's a good one. So part of me is like, I might actually do a little bit of adding my sort of gold or silver details on this. But these are what I'm going to use to write notes for my D&D gang too. Super excited to put the whole kit together. So everyone's got a dice bag, everyone's got a note, a candle and a potion. But yeah, anyway. I hope this was a little bit inspiring for you. Like I said, I'd love to hear about your characters, what you play, what you master if you are a game or dungeon master, and yeah, I hope to see you again very soon. Look after yourselves.